Hello everyone, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the VLSM. Okay. Now, before I start VLSM, first of all, we need to understand about subnetting. Okay. So, what do you mean by subnetting? If we define the subnetting, what we get, subnetting is the process by which we just divide the network into small subnet. That is called subnetting. Fine. That is the common definition which you guys will get in the different box. Fine. But according to me, subnetting is made up of two words, that is sub plus net. It means by the help of subnetting, we are just dividing the network into small network or subnet. Fine. So that is called subnetting. Now, now the more important thing is how we perform the subnetting. Fine. So guys, generally there are two ways by which we can perform the subnetting. The first one is called FLSM and second one is called VLSM. Fine. So basically, these are the two methods by which we perform the subnetting. FLSM stands for Fixed Length Subnet Mask. VLSM stands for Variable Length Subnet Mask. Fine. Now, what is the difference between FLSM and VLSM? If I ask you what do you mean by FLSM, how can we say the answer? In FLSM, basically, whatever the subnet, whatever the subnet we create, in all the subnet, the number of users or number of IPs will be fixed. For example, we have a one network 192.168.2.0/24 something. Fine. And when you perform the subnetting, for example, you got here one subnet, one subnet, one subnet. So here you total how many subnet we got, guys? Subnet number 1, subnet number 2, and subnet number 3. But the number of valid IP address in each subnet will be same. That's the reason it is called FLSM. Fine. Now, before go towards the VLSM, first of all, we need to understand what is the problem with FLSM and why we need VLSM, right? So in FLSM, the problem is, for example, if in your company there are three different clients, fine. For example, this is the client LinkedIn, this is the client Cisco, this is the client Dell, fine. Every clients have different requirement. For example, in LinkedIn, the number of users is 100. In Cisco, number of users is 200. And in Dell, number of users is 300 or something. Getting my point? For example, in subnet number 1, you got the valid IP address, for example, 1110. In subnet number 2, you got the valid IP address, that is again 110, and here again 110, because that is the FLSM. In FLSM, in every subnet, the number of valid IP address will be same. Now, if I assign this subnet to LinkedIn, yes, its requirement will fulfill. There is no problem because its requirement is only 100 and you are providing 110. That is fine. But what about the Cisco and Dell? Cisco requirement is 200 and Dell requirement is 300. How can you fulfill their requirement with the help of FLSM? Right? So that is not possible. Yes, maybe in your mind you can say, sir, do one thing. To Cisco, I will provide the two different subnet. In one subnet, the number of user is 110. I will provide another subnet. There will be a maybe 110 or something else. Fine. Yes, you can. But in the real time, generally we are not doing like this because clients never wants two subnet for the single project. Getting my point? So that will be the conflict. Clear? So this is the main problem with the FLSM. In FLSM, we have a fixed subnet. Fine. So to solve this problem, we have a new concept that is called VLSM. Fine. So in VLSM, how VLSM solve our problem? Guys, in VLSM, we have a variable length subnet mask. It means we will create the different subnet, but the number of valid hosts we will create according to the requirement. Fine. For example, if there are three different client, LinkedIn have requirement 110, Cisco is requirement for example 200, fine, and Dell requirement is for example 300. So in VLSM, we will perform the subnetting by the help of VLSM, and in this case, what we will do? we will create the number of valid IP address according to their requirement. Fine. So here, what is the benefit? Your requirement is fulfilled, and now the wastage of IP address will be less. Fine, in case of VLSM. Fine. So I hope now you guys understand what is the main difference between FLSM and VLSM and why we need VLSM in the real time scenario. Fine, because there are multiple problems with the FLSM. In FLSM, the sub number of valid hosts will be fixed. Fine, but in real time company, the different clients have different requirement. Fine, to fulfill their requirement, what we need the variable length subnet mask to fulfill their requirement. Fine. So that is all about the VLSM. Fine. Thank you very much, guys.